Good morning, flower friends. It's Madonna from Eastside Flower Farm, Los Molinas, California, Zone 9. And I am far northern California, about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of the Oregon border. So I have a small order of flowers that our customer wants for tomorrow. So I am out here. It's Thursday, September 14th. Probably about 6:15 in the morning. It's really brutal. I get in a little bit of hurry now because I've lost about an hour of sunshine, of daylight. And so I just have to be in a little bit more of a hurry because I am still a hairdresser of 30 years and I have work today. So I am a full-time hairdresser and a full-time flower farmer. And we have an 11-year-old that I homeschool on the weekends. So I'm always pushing the envelope with my time, but I wouldn't change a single thing at all. So I'm going to harvest some marigolds. I love marigolds. A lot of people do not like marigolds because they don't like the smell. But the smell is actually in the foliage. So if you strip them, cut them and strip all the leaves off, they actually don't have a smell. The flower itself, it does not smell. It's actually, like I said, it's the leaves. So if you cut them and you don't like the smell, now I don't mind the smell of the leaves. I actually think it smells good. So if you don't like it, you just cut it and strip it all off, and you will have the prettiest little golden flower, or orange. They come in orange. Actually, they also come in white. It's called White Swan that I grew this year. I put plants in the ground, but I actually only had 2 plants that grew, so I'm not sure what that was all about. So they're pretty this way. I love marigolds. So I just need a few. I'm just going to do a little bit of everything. So we're going to come over here to this loggia. Actually, I have my buckets of water right there. I've already put fresh water, clean buckets. Gotta have clean buckets. You don't want bacteria growing in your flowers. And I always put a CVB in. It's basically a chlorine tablet in my buckets of water. That way, there's no bacteria that gets in the stems and they don't die. You want to keep them fresh. So right here, I'm gonna cut some gomphrena. And remember, with gomphrena, you have to do the wiggle test. So this, you want the stem nice and firm. See, this one's still a little floppy at the top. You don't want to cut that because if it's floppy now, it's going to be floppy later. So you want to do one that's got a firmer stem. It's still a little floppy, but it's okay. And you can kind of tell how they stand. They'll stand straight up. Gomphrena is a really beautiful little flower. I love the little balls. It's Globe Amaranth. But they are kind of a pain to pick because they tangle. The little leaves at the bottom, they tangle up with each other. So it's a little bit time consuming, but it's worth it. I do not net them because it would be a pain trying to see how they tangle. They just get caught up in each other. It's these little leaves in the bottom and they snag each other as you're pulling them out. So I do not succession plant gomphrena. I just do it one time because I have a whole row here and it's a cut and come again. So as long as you keep cutting it, they will come back. And these make a wonderful dried flower. So I'm just gonna go along. I'm not gonna pick the white because we're going into fall. And so for me, fall is the brighter colors. And you know, I use the lighter colors too if I have darker colors to accentuate them. But it's really, like I said, I just have a small order for today. And so I'm just coming out here just to pick what I need for that. And I'll probably come out and harvest again tomorrow morning. So I won't get too carried away. I love this pink color. It's like I think it's called carmine. So I broke the end of that stem, but it's still plenty long enough. So we are gonna do these, and then I'm gonna pop over here behind me. I'm gonna put these in the bucket. I'll be right back. So we're gonna come over here to some celosia, and hopefully you guys can hear me from there. There we go. I absolutely... Is that the coolest little celosia you've ever seen? That is awesome. I think this is called a cristata. It's pretty cool. I love the color. I love these dried also. So I'm just gonna pick kind of just randomly. I'm not sure. The customer said she was not color specific. So I just kind of want to find something that is more fall. So we're gonna come along. He's got a cool deal. I don't really want that. So I'm gonna come back over here, see if we can find. Okay, these aren't really long enough stem for me, so I'm not gonna really cut many of these. Almost every plant that you cut, you can do the wiggle test on. See, this one's floppy. This one's not ready. The flower's just barely going. So anything that's like this and you cut it and you think it's gonna do well, it's probably gonna just melt down in your vase. So you really don't want floppy, broken stems. That's why you don't want them also. Okay, so we're gonna actually go over here. I'm gonna pop these in my bucket. Make sure the stems are in the water. So I'm gonna go over here. You guys are probably gonna get dizzy. We're one of my zinnia patches. So this was my first bed of zinnias that I picked, and my second bed that I succession planted, which is over there. I ended up we got some rain in the middle of the summer, and it was really humid this year because we did get a lot of moisture over the winter, and I crowded my rows this year. Lesson learned. I only did 18-inch rows last year in 30-inch beds. It was way too narrow, and I knew that right from the get-go. And so it got powdery mildew, and so I just cut it all down. So I do have a few stems over there that we'll try to cut, but it should have been a really productive bed for me, and lesson learned. So now my paths will be, my beds will be 30 inches this next year, and my paths will actually be 36. So I told you with the zinnias, do a wiggle test to see if they're done. I just cut this one, look, floppy. You go about 8 inches down, wobble it. I thought it was gonna be good, but it's not. So this, you really don't want to use it because it's gonna flop in the vase. So it is early out here. It's not that early, but 6:30. It's just I only have about an hour, and then I have to get to work, or get ready for work. So we're just gonna come along. So you know, you really, after a while, you can pretty much eyeball it, but you want to see how this one's still flopping. I don't want to cut that one. This one's more firm. See, when I flop it, it kind of goes more back and forth, and see how this one really flops. This is not the one you want to cut. So I always cut low, and I strip right in the field. I just leave the leaves on the ground. They can compost in. And I do that pretty much with everything, and then it just settles into the ground. Sometimes if I go and pull beds out, then I'll clean that up because that's a lot of stuff on the ground. But I'm kind of looking through here for something more that's fall. These are good fall colors. So also, let's look at this one. This one's nice and firm. So we're gonna cut low. So the thing is if you want a long stem, you have to cut a long stem. So you have to go deep into the plant for the flower to rejuvenate back up to get your long stems, and then you can cut them however you want them. So if you want long, cut long. If you want short, cut short, because each plant has a height that it wants to go to, that it wants to grow up to. So if you're just cutting like the little bud off the top, then that's all it's gonna do, is it's just gonna keep you know, at 4 inches, it's just going to keep putting that bud back on at 4 inches. So if you cut down low into the plant, your plant's going to want to stretch back up to where, you know, its average height is, and you'll get longer stems. So this is a really pretty color. I believe it's carmine. Here's some pinks in here also. We're gonna look at this one right here. This one, it's good. It's kind of borderline, but it's usable. So if you strip the leaves off in the field, that'll save you a lot of trouble when you're trying to take them out of the buckets and they all get tangled up. If you just do it right from the get-go. See, these are still a little too floppy. I think there's one down here. Still a little too floppy. And I always, even though you'll kind of get the gist of it, you know, you can look and pretty much see, like, this one looks good, and it is. So I'll cut it. Sometimes you can tell, and sometimes they trick you. So, you know, if in doubt, do the wiggle test. So here is, this is a pretty color. See how it's got the pink and the yellow. And this is part of the Queen Lime series. Isn't that pretty, the pink and yellow? It's kind of yellowish green. It is absolutely gorgeous. So I love the Queen Lime series. They have oranges and reds and blush, and see, isn't that pretty? It's just a beautiful little color combination. And so, like I said, the customer didn't really ask for a combination, but I know that whatever it is, she's gonna want possibly more fall colors. I am gonna put some white in here though with our Lisianthus, because I have those coming into bloom also. So I see one more over here. So that's probably enough of these ones. We're gonna go down and pick some more. So I'm gonna show you something real quick with your zinnias. Zinnia. Everybody says it's, you know, slightly different, but it's all the same flower. So I'm gonna show you. This is how you want to pick it. See how the center has not, yellow flowers in the very center have not come out yet? This is the perfect time you're going to get the most vase life off of this one. See how this one has already started putting the little flowers in the center? So once it does that, it's on the downhill side of its life. So this is when you want to pick it for your vase. This is going to be your longest vase life. This, when the florets already start to show, it's on the downhill side. So I normally don't use this, so I'm not going to, because that one is less vase life than these when they pick the centers. So another little fun fact is I always come out early in the morning to pick these, because you want to beat the bees to your flowers. And the thing is if the bee gets to your flowers first, pop these in this bucket. If the bees get to your flowers first and pollinate them, before you cut them, when you put them in the vase, they're just going to shatter. So they don't do well as a cut flower once they're pollinated. So you really, you got to get out there early, because, you know, when it's cold, they're not buzzing around. They're in their happy little home, sleeping, getting ready for a long day's work. So I leave plenty of flowers on the farm for the bees to pollinate and to do their thing. But with the flowers I want to cut and I need to harvest and I want to sell in vases, I get out here early. So it's a battle for who's going to get up the earliest and get outside. And this is my day. And we're definitely starting to hit fall temperatures. Today I think is going to be the hottest day. I think it's supposed to be 101 today. So they said, but that's just like the peak, the absolute peak. That flower is perfect. It just doesn't look very good. That's the absolute peak of the day. That one's not good. And so it's not going to be that bad. And then we're going to the 80s, and that's just fantastic. And it is September 14th. So we're heading into fall, but we've had a great year. See how this one, the florets have already started? I am not going to put that in the vase because it's not going to last long. I would put that in a vase for me because it's very pretty, but I would not put that in a vase for a customer because it is on its way out. Okay, let's look at it. And my zinnias are also, they're on their last leg. It's been getting cooler. They love the summer heat. They do well in the summer heat. Our nighttime temperatures have been getting a little cooler. So they're kind of, everything, all the flowers, they're starting to hit their slow down time. So I've already started prepping my beds for my fall planting, which I should have already started, because our first frost date, you want to find your first frost date. If you want to know when to seed your fall flowers, you go to your first frost date, and you want to seed them 6 to 8 weeks before that. And so our first frost date is between December 1st and December 15th. And last year we had it at December 7th. So technically, I should have already had them. I usually start them the 1st of September. But we have a little trip planned, and the last thing I wanted to do is depend on someone else to come and water all my trays for me, because that's asking a little too much. And I don't want to put that responsibility on somebody else. I want that to be my responsibility. So I am going to start them later. And if by some chance I look at the weather and it says that it's going to be cold and we're going to get a freeze, well, I'll just go hoop them and cover them, and they'll be fine. Because last winter I planted all year long. We had multiple freezes last year for the first time in a long time. And I wanted to test my boundaries with our weather here. Because like I said, we are zone 9, so we stay warmer in the winter times than most other parts of the country. So I wanted to test my limits with when I could plant. I planted in the freezing. I planted December, January, February, March, April, and I only had one crop that didn't do really well, and everything else did really well. So I'm not really that worried about it. I would have liked to have started them earlier, but we didn't. So now we're gonna this white one's really super pretty. You can't see that. So isn't that pretty? I am still learning all the tricks of the trade through this video and stuff. And I tell you, the ones that have it down, really have it down. I'm a newbie, and I've never been one to do the computer because I'm a hairdresser and I haven't ever needed to. And now I find it necessary. So that's probably going to be my job this winter, is learning how to do this the right way. So all you guys that do this and you edit and you do it awesome, kudos to you. With me, just going to have to be a little patient, because I will learn it. It's just I don't have it down right now. And Braden, he's 11, and he can kind of guide me through it, but he doesn't have it down completely right now, and maybe during the winter that will be his job too. So I'm just gonna randomly cut, and what flowers my customer doesn't want, I'm gonna make vases for myself, for my sales. So anytime I go through and I cut and I see something that's spent, this is that I would never stick that in an arrangement. I just deadhead it. So I still cut it low though, and then I'll get a new one back. So I love, this is ageratum or flock flower. I love the stems for the greenery. These go really pretty in a bouquet for greenery with the flowers. Isn't that pretty? So I'm gonna cut some stems of this. These don't have the flowers yet, and I don't know actually if they will get flowers. It's kind of late in the year, but like I said, the greenery is perfect, so I'm just going to cut some of those. It has kind of a smell to it. I haven't decided haven't, it's kind of apple-y, odd. I don't know, but I would say probably 1 or 2 in a vase. I wouldn't go really heavy on it because it does have a little bit of a scent. So here is one. Here's one that actually has a little flower. See the little puffy flower? Isn't that pretty? So that's ageratum. Okay, so we'll leave that one on there. I'm gonna pop these over here in the bucket. I'll be right back. All right, and another flower that is really testy to prune is the Scabiosa. For the same reason that they are spindly little dudes that catch on everything. See, look at that. It gave me another flower. Good thing that wasn't a good one. So these are also a really big pain because, again, you can only do one at a time. So I'm just gonna, a lot of times I just cut a whole bunch off and then hope that the one I want is in my hand when I'm done. So we're gonna cut some of these. These are so pretty. This is that Merlot color, I believe. We're gonna harvest some of these. See, all these little stems, they get caught up in each other, and a lot of times I break these because if I'm not taking my time, they get caught, and then I just throw them to the side. So they're also, I don't know what's harder, these or the Gomphrena. And I'd probably say these, only because they're not as stiff as the Gomphrena. So I'm going to cut these at all different stages. And I have found that the white ones, for some reason, I think it's called Snow Maiden is the white one, they seem to shatter easier. I will show you something though. So I love this too. So here's what Scabiosa, so here, this actually might be Black Knight. So here, and this is why they call it pincushion, Scabiosa or pincushion. So when these little tiny white florets come out on the top, looks like little pin cushions, you know, little pins that you put in a pin cushion when people used to sew. So once you let these go to seed, you get this great little seed head, and this also is great for arrangements. I'll pull the rest of the little flowers off and stick this in an arrangement, and it looks really cool, just for a little added interest. If you just take a few little and pop it in the bouquet. So I'm gonna actually keep that one. So you just want to make sure, you know, like I said, all these little leaves are off because these will all snag with each other and be an absolute pain. So I'm gonna put these in my bucket right quick. You can look at the flowers. Okay, and so right here we have, this is my second flush. The helicopter there, right? Second flush of feverfew. So I'm going to pick some of this because this also is on its way down. So we'll just pick some. This also has a little bit of a smell to it. So a lot of the stuff that has kind of a smell, I don't use too many in a bouquet or an arrangement because it could get overpowering. So this, not pretty. So we'll have some of those. We'll make that be enough. So we're gonna go over here. Pop it in my bucket. So we're actually gonna bring my car. I always prune before the sun comes out because the last thing you want is your cut flowers sitting in the sun after they've been cut. That's super stressful. Just park it right here. So we're gonna come down here to the Lisianthus. And this is my second flush of Lisianthus. Now I have white, I have a soft butter yellow, and a pink. And these actually weren't doing that well until I had a row of straw flower right here behind them. And I had to, me and my grandkids cut it down this last weekend because they were shadowing this bed, but now they're doing really good. So, see how this one, see how it's brown and it doesn't look good? I am not gonna use that, so that's done. So with the Lisianthus, on my second flush, I cut it right down to the ground because it's done. This is their last time. So when you do a Lisianthus, usually there'll be lots of blooms on one stem. Many. So how you want to pick them, what I do is you want to wait for the first bud to open and be spent. So what you don't want to do is pick it when this one's open, then you have a whole bunch of unopened buds. You want to wait until this one's done, let it go, let it die off, cut it off, and then you have the freshest one. So then those are fresh. This one, you can tell this was the first one. See how it's getting kind of disheveled and it doesn't look good, and this one looks nicer. So I'm gonna go down, cut that one off. And because it's the end of the season, they don't have near as many side buds as it did earlier. So I'm just gonna go through here, and my customer, she may want some white ones. And if she doesn't, I will use them. So like I said, we're gonna go down, cut it all the way to the ground. So I have netting on almost everything. I do not net my Gomphrena because that would just be a big, huge pain. And netting is a curse and a blessing. So if you don't have netting on flowers like this and you get a windstorm or they start getting long, they'll just blow right over. And Lisianthus is, you know, it's a somewhat spendy crop to grow. So last thing you want to do is have a big windstorm and have them all blown over, because that would just not be good. But then when you cut it and the leaves snag on the netting, and it's so frustrating. It is absolutely frustrating. And at that point, you think, I am so over the netting, I'm not doing this anymore, because it's just really, it can be difficult. So it is a blessing and it's a curse. And it just depends on if you're in a hurry or not. So with my Lisianthus, on these ones, the little tiny buds like this, those are not gonna open. You know, not like this. So I go in and I cut them off because one, they're super fragile. You know, if you have them in a bucket and you go like this, you'll snap them right off. So I just cut them off in the field, throw them in the ground. So this one, I don't know if you can tell the difference. This is white and this is like a butter yellow. They're really close right here, but it's a super, super pretty color. I love that color, especially if you have like oranges and stuff with it. So some of these look like they're already like too blown. Like the heads are too blown and they don't have any side shoots on them, any other buds. So we may not pick a whole bunch of these. So here's one. I'm going to show you again. So this is the first one that bloomed right here. And this is the one we're going to keep. So see how this one's way opened and just looks like it's had a bad hair day? I'm going to cut it off. And I'm just going to leave those. And so see how this one is super tiny and it will not bloom? I'm just gonna cut it off right now because the chances of it snapping off is really good. And look what I did. I just broke it. These stems are super fragile. So you have to be careful. And so now we have some pink left. And I'm just not sure about the pink right now, this time of year. For me, fall isn't really all about the pink, and I just have a hard time putting it with something. Okay, so here's perfect example. This is one stem that I just cut. So this has lots of different buds, lots of different flowers. So if you look around, can you tell which one came out first? It would be this one. So we're always gonna let that one bloom first, die off. And if it doesn't die off and fall itself, we're gonna cut it off, and then we're left with lots of different flowers. So I wasn't gonna pick this pink, but it's so stinking pretty that I'm going to. And I'm gonna take maybe one more and see if we can get another pretty pink. So like I said, after these are gone, after these have finished this next flush, this bed will come out also. Actually, all these beds are coming out here pretty soon. Okay, so we're gonna go to one more zinnia bed and cut, and then I will be done for today's harvesting. So this is my bed that where are you? Got powdery mildew in. And it was really super unfortunate. So I think the only good part to this bed is actually down here. And we do have some, so I'm gonna take them. And then, like I said, lesson learned that I won't do my rows that close anymore. Oh, some pretty reds. So we're gonna sit right here. All right. Go ahead and pop those in the bucket. So this, what I do is I come along the centers that are already flowered out, I just throw them on the ground, basically deadheading them, and then they will go back. So like I said, if you want a long stem, cut a long stem. It's probably the easiest way to explain it. I'm not even gonna try to look. But it's too hard and it's just done. So I will pick some of the last of my status, which is purple and beautiful. And a few cosmos stems. So when I have to struggle with a flower bed to find something, when I have to really look and search to find something that I can cut, I know it's over with. And last year I was cutting flowers right up till I cut my last marigolds November 1st last year. I will not be doing that this year because it's just not going to. It's not going to. My flowers it's gotten cold and they're at the end of their season. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to cut some sunflowers. I'm going to harvest them. And I think this video is probably long enough for today. So you guys have a great day and we'll see you here probably tomorrow. Thanks guys. Have a great day.